r/IDontWorkHereLady, episode 14. I'm not a French flight attendant. I have an outfit I wear on planes. It's all black and consists of a sweater that looks like a blazer and a really comfortable pair of black pants. It looks sort of businesslike, but it's also comfortable enough to sleep in. Turns out, in dim light on a radar across the Atlantic, it looks somewhat like an Air France flight attendant uniform. I've been studying the French language for quite a while, and had been chatting in French with one of the flight attendants earlier in the flight, so we were on good terms. Several hours into the flight, I'm waiting patiently outside the lavatory for my turn as my new flight attendant friend was preparing the drinks to hand out to the cabin. We were chatting again, in French. Here comes the man from Lax. He marches straight up to me and hears me speaking French, sees me in my black uniform-esque outfit, and, understandably, mistakes me for an Air France flight attendant. Although most of the plane is attempting to nap, he demands in his loudest outdoor voice that I turn the air conditioning down because he's cold, and he also wants a glass of water. Sorry, I don't work here, I say. He continues talking over me with more demands. I don't work here. Doesn't hear me. Keeps talking. I don't work here. I am a passenger, just like you. I have no ability to get you what you want. You should ask somebody who works here, because I don't work here. He grumbles and walks off, complaining under his breath about service. My flight attendant friend rolls his eyes at me and laughs quite a bit. I don't think he even saw that there was an actual employee standing just around the corner from me. Flight attendant friend goes and gets him what he asked for. I go back to my seat, chuckling. I used to work there, not now. This is kind of a entitled parent crossover. I had to pick up a new job because my lifeguard job just wasn't paying. In a grocery store shop in Scotland, I was just doing my job. I was sitting in the back scrolling through Reddit because I had a break. I still owned a lifeguard hoodie, which would bite me in the ass. Enter entitled mother and evil spawn. I was sitting there thinking about picking up a board jet for lunch, but I never got my board jet because the M was approaching at rapid speeds. I obviously saw her wet swim gear. She was sweet at first. Hello, sir. Me, macaroni entity. Hello, ma'am. Me and Ek were annoyed at our experience at the local swimming pool. Me, I knew what I had to say. I actually quit my job at the swimming pool a month ago. You are just being lazy. Do your job and get me a refund. Me, did you ask at the front office? Yes. Me, then I can't help you. She was turning tomato. I knew it was entitled. I had what I call a two-step program. I had to do it. Me, so tell me about the swim. Tons of kids were bullying little Ek here. Ek was silent. Me, I still can't help you. Yada da da. I got the classic. Supervisor grass. Grass means to snitch on someone. My old supervisor came over and greeted me and told the woman I don't work there. So she progresses on to my new supervisor, and he confirmed I worked there and wasn't a problem. She left with no satisfying outcome. They wouldn't let me. I'm an older lady, by that I mean I'm in my late 60s and some might dispute me being a lady. I go to a gym that I will call Celestial Body Fitness. This one is located in a shopping center with a small discount grocery store right next door. I had worked out that day and hadn't brought my water bottle with me, so I was pretty thirsty. I decided to pop into the grocery store to pick up a diet soda to drink on the way home. I was sweaty, had on a muscle type workout shirt and yoga pants. As I was staring at the cookies, knowing that there is no way I could afford to eat anything like that, a lady asked me where the bread aisle was located. Now, I hadn't been in that store very many times and the only place I had ever gone was where they had the refrigerated drinks. So I said, I'm sorry, I don't know. She looked at me and said, don't you work here? I looked down at my shirt and said, I don't think they would appreciate one of their employees wearing a shirt like this, do you? She looked at the writing on my shirt, did a Pikachu face, and just walked away. My grey workout shirt had green lettering that said, Cannabis.net and a pot leaf on it. I had a horrific encounter with an Italian Karen. This happened to me about a week ago in southern Italy. I had just finished a long day at work and decided to go and treat myself to some snacks from the local shop just a few minutes from my hotel room. I work in a hotel, so they let you stay in one of their staff rooms, but only really give you water and pasta for lunch. Hence me buying myself Coke and crisps from the shop. It's important to keep in mind that I did in fact have "staff" written on my shirt, however I very clearly had chef's leggings and my hat hanging from my belt because I was too lazy to drop it in my room, as I bring clothes from home and never really have any reason to leave my hotel room. I usually just bring a pair of shorts to sleep in at night and my chef's whites to keep down the weight of my bags. I would have got changed if I had a normal shirt to wear. I'm also a gastronomy student from the UK. I can speak enough Italian to communicate well in the kitchen with short sentences, but anything too long or too fast and I'm lost. I walk into the shop and make my way to the crisps aisle and select a bag to take to the checkout area. Or so I hoped. It was at that moment a Karen appeared with her kid in tow. The kid stood behind her in his very small blue Italian football shirt playing on his mum's phone peacefully whilst the Karen, who in the spirit of being Italian we will refer to as Karen Etta, proceeds to block the aisle with her cart. Assuming she would be nice, I walked up to her and asked if she could move the cart using the best of my Italian skills. Unfortunately, Karen Etta was looking for something that she couldn't find and made the bold assumption that I was a worker in the store. She stared at me with the Karen Etta eyes, and it is at this moment I realized, just as she goes to open her mouth, that I was completely buggered. I made my best effort to explain to Karen Etta that I work in the restaurant down the road, but either she didn't care or my Italian wasn't up to scratch. I'll do my best to translate the dialogue, but most of what Karen Etta said was incomprehensible. Keep in mind I'm doing my best to understand her as she begins to scream at me in public, her son standing blissfully unaware behind her. Karen Etta started screaming profanities like pezzo di murder, vaffanculo. As I desperately look around the room for anyone to help me, I began to wonder whether a bag of crisps and Coke was worth it. To me it was. I ran to the back of the aisle. I could hear Karen Etta screaming behind me. She didn't make much sense at all. She was speaking far too fast. I quickly made a dash for the checkout and quickly got myself out of the store and away from Karen Etta, only to see two police officers heading into the shop. I would have stopped to help them, but I was beyond giving a shit by that point. This story doesn't have a very good ending, I know. I could have made it all Karen Etta got arrested, but that would be bullshit. I don't know what happened to her, and I don't know where she is, and I haven't seen her since, but have had more bad experiences here than I ever did in the UK. Yeah, that's it. So I hope to never see a Karen Etta again, but there will definitely be a next time. Blue shirt, khaki pants plus warmot. Ugh. This happened a while back. I live in Southern California. I had just finished volunteering for a local marathon/half marathon, where our shirts were blue, and on the back it said in big bold white letters, volunteer, and the front chest had the race logo. Anyway, I'm browsing Walmart cause I need groceries and supplies, so I'm on the ground hunched over reading labels and comparing ingredients while FaceTiming with a friend about dinner when a man and his son approach me asking for something. I said I don't work here, and he leaves. Moments later he comes back with a woman and asks me again for something, and again I say I don't work at Walmart. Told them to look for name tag on someone else. Woman got mad. Like, really upset, shouting broken Spanglish at me for, I think, refusing to help her. She shouted so much that she of course caused a scene of other Spanish speaking customers to come see what the fuss was. I was like, why is this happening to me? I just walk away because I really don't want to deal with it. Reminder, I've been volunteering for a marathon race, which if you know anything about, you have to be awake around 3 to 4 AM before the runners arrive, and you can't generally leave until the last person, which is usually around 2 PM. Which is to say that I was very tired at this point in the day for this type of shenanigans in public. As I walk away, I notice an actual Walmart employee coming to the scene and assisting the telenovela customer and then proceed to flag me down. Once the employee got to me, realizing I'm not an employee, and relayed this to the customer, she became more hysterical. Like she thinks that we are all conspiring against her. Manager steps in and apologizes to her, gets it all sorted out, and off everyone goes in their separate ways. TL, Doctor, I don't speak Spanish, and I look like a Walmart employee. Cue telenovela dramatics. Same store, two stories. First off, the main cause for both of these stories. I work in a pet hotel and usually get out of work pretty late, so I don't always feel like switching my work shirt before I head home. My shirt is dark blue and has the company name on it, like most places. Occasionally I'll stop at a Walgreens that's on the way home. Their shirts are a light blue, also have a company name, very different shirt style than my work. Both stories are short and neither have much that happens. I just found it funny when it happened a second time. Story 1, it's winter, so I didn't want to take my work shirt off, just to preserve a little bit of warmth. I always have a regular shirt on under my work shirt, so in winter the layers are nice. I walk into the store, phone in hand, replying to a text as I'm walking. This guy walks up to me and asks where the Q-tips are. I looked up at him, at my shirt, at my phone, and back to him. Dude, I don't work here. He just goes, oh, do you know where they are though? I had no idea, but I pointed him towards the makeup/hair care/skincare area. Story 2, it's summer. Too tired after several 8-hour days taking care of over 100 dogs to take off my work shirt. But not too tired to grab some carts from outside the store and bring them in. I had gotten in the habit of bringing carts in that are around the door. Partially because it's BS that people won't walk 10 feet back into the store to put the carts back, and I like giving the employees a hand. But I'm not going to lie, the possibility of someone saying thank you is always nice, especially when I've had a terrible day. I bring in a couple carts as a woman walks in the store behind me. Part way to my destination of beverages I hear "excuse me" from behind me. Turn and see the woman who just got there. Lady, hi. Could you help me find something? Me, oh, sorry, I don't work here. Lady, sorry. I just saw the shirt and the carts and I assumed. Me, no worries, I just bring them in when I can. We say goodbye and part ways. It's weird to say that in those few moments I got the feeling that she was just a really nice person. I can only put either meet her or nothing as tags for this, and I'm very confused about that. Angry/entitled woman chews me out because her newspaper was late. This happened a few years ago and I had largely forgotten about it until now, so forgive me if I leave out some details. And amp #X200B. My dad worked for our local newspaper for many years until he stopped doing it last year because of a medical emergency. He was a delivery driver and had an early morning route. By early morning, I mean that he had to get up really early in the morning, usually 1 or 2 a.m., and go down to the newspaper warehouse, located downtown, which thankfully isn't that far from our house. Once there, he had to roll his batch of papers, load them into our car, and then go through his route. Occasionally, when he needed some extra help or just someone to talk to, I'd go with him. The work was repetitive and boring at times, but thankfully we'd normally be done after a couple of hours. And amp #X200B, keyword here being normally, and amp #X200B. Unfortunately, there were a lot of people working for the paper who simply did not care about doing their job, and more often than not, my dad had to cover parts of other drivers' routes after he had finished his. It's on one such day that this story takes place, and amp #X200B. It's just after 7:30 a.m. on a Sunday. My dad and I are in our car, taking care of yet another route that someone had blown off that morning. We pull up to a particular house. It was set back a ways in the middle of some trees with a worn looking walkway leading up to a closed-in porch. My dad tells me to deliver a paper to the house while he rearranges the papers in the backseat of the car. So I do so, and as I'm walking away, an older woman emerges from the darkness of the porch and demands to know why her paper was late and amp #X200B. I mentioned the time for a good reason. The newspaper has a rule that says that customers can report that their paper hasn't been delivered yet after a certain time. For those whose papers are delivered early in the morning, the time they can start reporting is 8 AM. We showed up at the woman's house at just after 7:30. So not only was this woman's paper not late, but she basically started chewing me out for poor service. My dad had to step in and calm the lady down. He explained the situation to her, that he was not her usual delivery driver, that her paper was not late, etc., and she was actually understanding and apologetic for the whole thing. After that, we went our separate ways, her back to her house, and my dad and I back to the car. Then we drove off, completed the rest of the route without further incident, and went home and amp #X200B. Ultimately, I understand the woman's frustration, as missed deliveries are an all too common occurrence at the newspaper, but just because your paper isn't where you expect it to be at the time you expect it to be there, that doesn't give you the right to chew out a random stranger. Especially not someone who doesn't even work for the newspaper, and especially not someone whose father, who does work for the newspaper, is trying his hardest to do his job and then some. Chew out the driver whose route it was for their incompetence.